Hello and welcome again to another wonderful session. Today, our focus will be on creating a virtual machine and we'll be making use of the EC2 AWS service. EC2 means elastic compute. So basically, as the name implies, it's an expandable computer in cloud, which is one of the beauty of, you know, cloud computing. Without further ado, I would want us to dive in. So right here on my screen, you can see that I've launched the EC2 instance. So basically what we want to do is create an instance and let's dive in. You will need to give your instance a name and select the image that you would like to use. So don't get it confused. If I say instance or I say virtual machine, in this case, I mean the same thing. And here I'm going to be naming my instance of virtual machine. There are Windows Server. I could change the name even when it is created. Depends on my use case. I'm going to be choosing from the AMI, which is the AMI standing for machine images. And my choice for the purpose of this training will be to create a Windows Server virtual machine. And I'm going to be using the Microsoft Windows Server 2022 core base image. Now I'm currently trying to search for this image from the list of available AMI within the AWS marketplace. And I think we see here. Here we can see various versions of the Microsoft Windows Server. But for this case, we would be using the Microsoft Windows Server 2022 core piece. We can also see other configurations of this image or the AMI, and from what we see here, we see that the core base has 64 bits. So I'm going to be selecting this, and then after which I'm going to be selecting my instance type. In this case, I would leave it as the default value because it is eligible under the free tier. Key And then for the network setting, we can leave this as the default values, but we must ensure that the security group linked to the instance allows for RDP traffic, as we would need to remotely access the virtual machine. That is why it is a VM. Settings created here is dependent on our use case. Remember, we must be techie and cyber aware. We can ensure that our VM can only be accessed by our IP and not anyone else within the internet. We'll touch this much later on in this video, and then we can leave most of the remaining settings as a default value. Yeah, just for the purpose of this video, we'll be leaving most of the settings, the other settings, as the default values. And we'll launch our instance. Oh yeah, we did happen to skip a setting earlier, which is creating the new key pair. To To create a new key pair, we could select any of the options. If we want to use an existing one or create a new key pair, um, I am going to create a new key pair for the purpose of this. I'm not going to use an old name. I'm going to give it a name of my choice. Like I always say, we have the choice to do whatever we want or to customize the services the way we want. And then the key pair type I'll be choosing is RSA. And after this, I'm launching my instance. It would ask me where I would like to save the key pair. I've chosen the location where I'm saving the key pair, and our instance has been successfully created. To connect our VM, we need to click connect to instance and then select the RDP, option set. And then we download the remote desktop file. And after downloading the remote desktop file, we would also need to decrypt the key pair we have just created to be able to obtain our password in order to be able to access the VM. So having downloaded the remote desktop file, we also want to get our password. And here is how to decrypt the file. So we are going to upload the private key pair. It's already giving us information. So in case you have a lot of key pairs in your system and you can't even remember which one it is, it's telling us here the key pair assigned to the instance ID. The key pair associated with this instance is the key, the Tara key we have here. And all we need to do is to upload the key pair and then decrypt the password. Having done the decryption, we are now going to connect using the file we had initially downloaded. We're going to input the password which we are going to decrypt now. Now the password has been decrypted, and then if we scroll all the way down, we can now see the password of our instance. All we need to do is copy that password and then go to the RDP file, input the password, and sign in. So here we can tell that our sign-in has been successful. Read all the blah blah and then click yes. And here is going to simply launch our, virtual machine. And our virtual machine is up. At this point, I will just be doing a little walkthrough just as a proof of concept that the VM is working fine. So just basic, command lines just to prove the concept of, walking around, you know, walking around the environment. So who am I? Just stating we currently logged into the VM. We're going to be doing a list of directories within the, within the VM. Just a basic work around of command line interfaces, command line codes, basically. Before I go, I want to quickly just explain how to create more privacy for your virtual machine, what you need to do is to return to the security group of your instance, edit the inbound rules, basically change the IP to, my IP, that's the IP source. Save your settings and return to connect to your virtual machine. You then realize that you are still able to connect to the virtual machine from your own PC because the settings has been restricted to just your IP. But if you attempt to connect to that VM from a different PC, you will not be able to access the virtual machine. And it's a wrap. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, as members of this community, we have to remain techie and cyber aware. Stay safe and bye for now.